Hello, friends. Today, let's dive into an eye-opening topic, how to truly sell anything to anybody. Yes, it's possible. And who better to guide us than the legendary Joe Girard, one of the world's most renowned marketing and sales experts. Now, let's start with an interesting fact. Many salespeople feel frustrated. Why? Because they often meet people who seem to waste their time. You know the type, those who walk into a showroom, glance around, and leave without buying a thing. It can be maddening, right? But here's the catch. You can't sell to everyone. It's impossible. The trick is to focus on that one person who genuinely needs what you're offering. And remember, no matter who you work for or what you're selling, this is your business. The effort you put in, the relationships you build, and the time you invest will determine your success. Now, here's something profound from Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. She believed that emotions drive more purchases than logic. Surprised? Here's her secret. Imagine every person you meet is wearing a sign around their neck that says, "Make me feel important." Do this and watch what happens, not just in your sales career, but in life itself. Let me share a story from Joe Girard himself. One day, Joe attended a wedding with his wife. At the reception, he met the catering manager. Naturally, Joe asked, "How many people typically attend a wedding?" The manager responded, "For an average wedding, around 500 guests." Imagine the connections and opportunities hidden in these numbers. Think about this for a moment. At every wedding, about 250 people come from the groom's side and another 250 from the bride's side. What does this tell us? It means that an ordinary person knows, on average, 250 people in their life. These are people they value enough to invite to life's biggest moments, weddings, funerals, and more. Now imagine this. If the person in front of you is someone with influence, a celebrity, a community leader, or a business owner, this number could multiply several times over. As a salesperson, this is a golden rule you need to understand. What happens if you're rude to a customer? Or if you let your bad mood show and make them feel unwelcome? They walk away upset, and at some point, they'll meet those 250 people in their circle. And guess what they'll talk about? You. But not in the way you'd like. Suddenly, 250 potential customers are gone. Just like that. But flip the script. Treat every customer like they're the most valuable person you've met. Make them happy, give them a great product or service, and guess what happens? They'll tell those 250 people about you. They'll sing your praises, and slowly, those connections will turn into opportunities. Here's the truth. Every single customer matters. Every interaction is a chance to create not just one sale, but hundreds down the line. This is how you build relationships and turn your business into something extraordinary. We're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to learn about mastering sales. This is just the beginning, so stay with me and we'll uncover it all step by step. Let's start with the first secret. 1. Turn strangers into customers effortlessly. When a salesperson first joins the sales force, what's their biggest challenge? Selling anything at all. It's daunting, isn't it? Whether it's cars, insurance, or anything else, the first sales are often the toughest. But once they sell their first 2 items, it feels like magic. Let's begin with a simple question. What happens when you first start selling? Most people begin by selling to those closest to them. Family, friends, or relatives. Sounds easy, right? But here's the real test. A true salesperson is revealed when they've gone beyond selling to just 3 people. Why? Because once that list of supportive friends and family runs out, what do you do next? How do you reach out to strangers and convince them to buy from you? This is where the journey really begins. If you feel stuck because you've run out of people you know, here's what you need to do first. Make a list of everyone you interact with regularly, even if they're not close to you. Think about it. Your grocery store owner, the gas station attendant, the person you buy clothes from. These are all people you can connect with. They already know you in some way, which makes them great prospects. Once you've approached those you see regularly, it's time to tackle an even bigger challenge: selling over the phone. This is where most salespeople falter. Why? Because when you call someone you don't know, they usually don't want to talk to you. They might even hang up on you before you finish your first sentence. Frustrating, isn't it? Here's the reality. Most people on a prospect list don't want to hear from you. That's why references matter. Without a reference, you're just another voice on the other end of the line. But how do you create that connection when there's no prior relationship? Let me share Joe Girard's brilliant strategy for breaking through this barrier. When Joe got a prospect list, he wouldn't just call and introduce himself as a car salesman. No, he'd start with a bold, unexpected line. He'd call and say something like, "Hi, this is Joe, a car salesman with company name. The car you ordered is ready. When would you like to come pick it up?" You can imagine the reaction. The person on the other end, often the spouse, would be startled and respond, "But we didn't order a car." That's when Joe had their attention. It was no longer just a cold call. It became a conversation. This approach worked wonders because it disrupted expectations and made people curious. It's all about finding creative ways to start a dialogue, because once someone is talking to you, the possibilities are endless. Here's where Joe Girard's brilliance truly shines. He knew how to turn even a wrong number into an opportunity. Imagine this. Joe dials a number from his prospect list, and a woman answers. He starts the conversation by asking, "Is this Mr. Random Name's house?" The woman replies, "No, my husband's name is Stephen." Now, instead of ending the call, Joe takes this as his chance. He responds politely, "Oh, I'm sorry for the mistake. I must have the wrong number." But before hanging up, he asks one simple question. "By the way, are you or your husband thinking about buying a car?" At this point, the woman might say, "No, we're not interested." But sometimes, just sometimes, she might reveal a little more. "Actually, my husband is considering it. Why don't you talk to him?" That's all Joe needed, a reference. He'd then ask for her husband's name and the best time to call. When he finally called Stephen, he'd open the conversation with, "Hi, Stephen. I spoke to your wife earlier. I'm a car salesperson and wanted to know if you're thinking about buying a car." By mentioning Stephen's wife, Joe created instant trust. The conversation was no longer cold. It was warm, personal, and familiar. Even if Stephen wasn't ready to buy at that moment, Joe would ask, "When do you think you might be considering it?" If Stephen said 6 months, Joe would write down every detail, Stephen's name, his preferences, and even the timeline, and follow up exactly 6 months later. This method wasn't about trickery. Joe was clear. Don't trap customers and never cheat them. The goal wasn't to force someone into a sale, but to genuinely connect and ensure your product reaches the right people in the right way. This approach built relationships, trust, and ultimately loyal customers. But Joe's methods didn't stop with phone calls. In today's era, sending letters or emails is another powerful way to reach potential customers. Yet, many salespeople fail here. Why? Because their messages look like pure advertisements, full of templates, flashy slogans, and generic content. What happens when someone receives such mail? Most of the time, they throw it away or delete it without a second glance, right? That's why Joe emphasized the importance of sending a personalized message. The moment you make the interaction feel tailored and genuine, you've already set yourself apart. The author shares a brilliant method to make sure your mail gets noticed and, more importantly, read. He explains that instead of pushing customers to buy something through your messages, focus on their problems and offer meaningful solutions. Every email should provide value, something that genuinely helps the recipient. Here's another idea. Don't limit your communication to business. Celebrate the moments that matter in your customers' lives. Send messages on festivals, anniversaries, or birthdays. Imagine how impactful it is to receive a simple birthday wish from someone who values you as more than just a customer. Joe Girard practiced this relentlessly. He made sure to mail his customers 12 times a year, once every month. Each letter wasn't about selling. It was about connection. On these special days, he simply sent warm wishes without any trace of advertising. Now think about this. When Joe's mail arrived every month, his name became familiar. Over time, his customers knew exactly who he was and what he did. He wasn't just a car salesman. He was someone they remembered and trusted. Another powerful tool Joe used was his visiting card. He believed that to turn strangers into customers, you must ensure people know who you are and what you offer. How do you do that? Always carry your visiting card. Every time Joe met someone, he handed over his card. But Joe didn't stop there. He found creative ways to make his cards memorable. Imagine this. At a football match, when the crowd erupted in cheers after a goal, Joe would toss a handful of his cards into the stands. The joy of the moment made his cards stand out, ensuring people noticed him. Every interaction, every opportunity was a chance to make an impression. 2. Make the customer feel like a winner. Here's an essential truth. You can only sell to someone who needs what you're offering. Not everyone is ready to buy, and that's okay. But here's where many salespeople make a mistake. They see customers who browse but don't buy as time wasters or crazy. Have you ever felt that frustration? A customer walks in, looks around, and leaves without making a purchase. It's easy to think, what a waste of time. But that mindset is dangerous. Why? Because customers are just like us. They have their reasons. Maybe they're not ready to buy today, or they're comparing options. Dismissing them or judging them won't help. Instead, think of every interaction as an opportunity to build trust, even if it doesn't result in an immediate sale. Treat customers with respect and care, no matter how small the interaction. The truth is, a satisfied customer will remember you, and when the time comes for them to make a decision, guess who they'll think of first? The author emphasizes a vital truth about most car buyers. They're often hardworking, middle-class individuals. These customers have worked tirelessly to save enough money to make a big purchase, whether it's a car, a TV, or a refrigerator. When they step into a showroom, they carry a mix of excitement and nerves. Why nervous? Because many people see salespeople as someone ready to squeeze every last penny out of them. That's why, when a customer says, "I'm just looking," it's often a defense mechanism. They fear that agreeing too soon might lead to being pressured into a purchase without truly understanding their options. Have you ever had a customer browse but never come back? Chances are, it's because they felt rushed or misunderstood. When salespeople focus only on pushing a sale, customers can sense it. They feel like their concerns and needs don't matter, and they leave with a bad impression. That's where many salespeople lose their way. They forget that not everyone is ready to buy. And that's okay. The author reminds us of an important fact. You can only sell to someone who genuinely needs what you're offering. Change the battlefield. What you do every day as a salesperson is, in a way, a battle. Your customers often walk into the showroom with their guard up, seeing you as their adversary. They think, this person just wants to take my money. And on the flip side, many salespeople see customers as time wasters. This constant tug of war creates tension. Both sides view each other as enemies. If left unchecked, this mindset leads to lies, manipulation, and frustration on both ends. But here's the good news. You can break this cycle. Start by truly understanding your customer. What's on their mind? Why are they hesitant? What problems are they hoping to solve? When you approach the conversation with empathy and understanding, something amazing happens. You turn the situation from a battle into a partnership. The customer no longer sees you as someone trying to take advantage of them. Instead, they see you as someone who genuinely wants to help. And when both parties win, the results are powerful. The customer walks away with exactly what they need, feeling like they got real value for their time and money. You, in turn, earn their trust, their loyalty, and your commission. Remember this. No matter how a customer feels when they walk in, your goal is to ensure they leave feeling respected, valued, and confident in their decision. Make them see themselves as smart buyers and you as their ally. 3. Stay out of the gossip club. There's a simple rule in sales. The more customers you talk to, the more sales you'll close. It's that straightforward. But what happens when you're not actively building your prospect list? Many salespeople fall into the trap of wasting time on idle gossip or distractions instead of focusing on reaching potential customers. When the author first started selling cars, he didn't sit around waiting for customers to show up. He took action. Without a prospect list or any customer data, he turned to one of the most basic tools available, the telephone directory. That's right. He began calling people straight from the directory, introducing himself and starting conversations. Instead of hoping for customers to come to him, he found ways to bring them in, often by name. The takeaway here? Don't wait for opportunity to knock. Go out and create it. Avoid wasting time on unproductive chatter or becoming part of a gossip club. Focus on what truly matters, connecting with people, understanding their needs, and building relationships that lead to sales. Every company has one. a group of people who waste precious time in idle chatter instead of focusing on their goals. Don't get sucked into this trap. Think about it. While they're spending hours talking about irrelevant things, you could be working on your next big sale. Remember this. No matter what you sell or where you work, this is your business. The more effort and time you invest, the more success you'll see. But here's the harsh truth. The time you spend gossiping comes at a cost. You're paying for it with the sales you're not making, the customers you're not meeting, and the opportunities you're letting slip away. Money doesn't come from idle talk or fun. It comes from focused action. So starting today, make the decision to step out of the gossip club. Instead, use that time to call prospects, send direct mail, or brainstorm new ways to connect with potential customers. And here's the thing. Success doesn't happen overnight. It requires persistence. At first, you might not see results, but the more you repeat these efforts, the more your chances of landing new clients will grow. 4. Sell the feeling. Let me take you back to a moment I'll never forget. The first time I drove a Mercedes. It wasn't even my car. A friend had invited me to the showroom to see his new car, and I decided to test drive it. From the moment I sat behind the wheel, I was hooked. The smoothness, the luxury, the feeling of driving something extraordinary, it was unforgettable. At that time, buying a Mercedes wasn't in my budget, but that test drive left an impression so strong that I promised myself, one day, I'll own this car. A few months ago, when the time was right, guess what? I bought the same car, driven by the memory of that feeling. Now imagine how you can use this in sales. When you sell something, don't just focus on the product, sell the experience, sell the emotion. Let your customers feel what it would be like to own or use what you're offering. Of course, this approach might look different depending on what you sell. For example, if you're selling life insurance, there's no tangible product to touch or feel. But even then, you can paint a picture in their minds. Help them visualize the peace of mind, the security, and the care they're providing for their loved ones. Sales isn't just about transactions. It's about creating moments, feelings, and memories that stick with your customers long after the deal is done. Think about this. Can a salesperson really sell a coat to someone without letting them try it on? It's the same with anything you sell. You need to create an experience. Let the customer feel it, try it, or imagine it in their lives. That's the moment the magic happens. Joe Girard, one of the greatest car salesmen of all time, swore by this method. When someone sat in a car he was selling, he didn't bombard them with a list of features. No. He stayed silent and let them drive. He knew the power of the moment, letting the customer smell the leather, feel the steering wheel, and imagine themselves owning that car. Why didn't he talk? Because the less he spoke, the more the customer's mind would work. They'd start picturing their future with the car. They'd start convincing themselves why they needed it. That's the key. People trust their own thoughts more than a salesperson's words. Joe believed that when a customer test drives a car, they'll often tell you exactly what they need without realizing it. They'll mention their preferences, their lifestyle, and even their concerns. And as a salesperson, your job is to listen closely, build a connection, and guide the conversation naturally. This principle doesn't just apply to cars. Think about showrooms for mobiles, TVs, or other gadgets. You can try them out, test them, and see how they work. Sometimes, people visit multiple times before buying, but eventually they make a purchase. Why? Because they've had a chance to feel the product, and it sticks with them. So no matter what you're selling, find ways to present your product in a way that engages the senses. Let potential customers touch, see, or even taste what you're offering. When their senses are involved, their emotions follow. And emotions? They're what drive decisions. Remember, the goal isn't just to sell, but to create a connection. When you present your product meaningfully, it's no longer just an item. It becomes something your customers want in their lives. And that's when the real magic happens. The author believes that more purchases happen because of emotions than logic. Think about it. When a customer takes a test drive, they'll often ask, "Where should I go?" And the perfect response? Wherever you feel like. If the customer lives nearby, the author would suggest driving past their home. Why? Because when they see their house, their family, or even a neighbor on the porch, the emotional connection begins. Imagine this. A customer pulls up to their house in a shiny new car. Their spouse and kids step outside, excited to see them driving it. Maybe the neighbor looks over, curious or even impressed. That feeling, the pride of showing off something new, creates a powerful desire. Suddenly, the car isn't just a car. It's theirs. It's what they want. Human nature works like this. Once we feel proud of something, once we've shown it off, we don't just want it. We need it now. And what if the customer wants to go for a longer drive? The author never says, "Oh, I don't have time for that." No. Instead, they let the customer drive as far as they want. The longer they drive, the more they connect with the experience. And they start imagining their life with this car. And when the customer realizes they've taken a lot of the salesperson's time, it sparks a feeling of gratitude. That gratitude can tip the scales, making it harder for them to say no. Because at the end of the day, as a salesperson, your goal is to sell your product and make it unforgettable. Now, let's talk about honesty, the most essential tool in your sales arsenal, but one you must use wisely. The author emphasizes this. Honesty isn't just a moral guideline, it's a powerful policy, a policy that builds trust and credibility. For instance, if the car you're selling has 6 cylinders, say 6. If it has 8, say 8. Simple, right? Because if you lie and the customer checks later, you're done. They'll tell dozens, maybe even hundreds of people about the deception. Your reputation? Gone. But here's where it gets nuanced. Honesty doesn't mean spilling every single detail unnecessarily. Sometimes you focus on what matters most to the customer. The author shares that during his time as a car salesman, he understood when to tell the full story and when to emphasize only the essential truths. It's about striking the balance. Honesty that builds trust. Emotions that drive decisions. Together, they create the perfect environment for a sale to happen. Imagine this. A potential customer calls and asks, "Do you have this car model in stock?" What do you think the author would say? You guessed it. "Yes, absolutely. We have that model and others you might love. Why don't you come in today?" Now, here's the interesting part. He might not even know if that exact car is available. Why? Because he doesn't want to lose the chance to bring the customer into the showroom. Even if that particular model isn't on the lot, there's likely another car that fits the customer's needs. And if not, no problem. Showrooms often have partnerships with nearby dealers. They can arrange to get that specific car quickly. The key is simple. Invite the customer in first, because once they're there, the possibilities are endless. And that's the brilliance of selling. Always making it about the customer's experience and ensuring they leave satisfied, no matter what. Let's recap the key takeaways from how to sell anything to anybody to help you apply these strategies in real life. 1. Every customer matters. Each one influences at least 250 people. Treat every customer with care and respect so they talk positively about you to their circle. 2. Turn strangers into customers. Whether it's through calls, emails, or handing out business cards, let people know who you are and how you can help them. Keep planting seeds and the results will follow. 3. Solve problems, don't just sell products. When you focus on meeting your customers' needs, they feel valued, and when they feel like winners, they'll want to buy from you. 4. Don't waste time gossiping. Instead of idle chatter, use your time to connect with potential customers and grow your business. 5. Sell the experience, not just the product. Let your customers feel, touch, or test what you're offering. When they experience it firsthand, their desire to own it grows exponentially. But wait, there's more. I've created a part-by-part complete audiobook of this amazing book. If you'd like to dive into the full content, you can listen to it by clicking on the end screens, checking the description, or visiting the pinned comments. Let's keep learning, growing, and selling like pros. If you enjoyed this summary and found it helpful, make sure to subscribe for more self-help